actually the power of those LLMs to actually generate a thesis on why a metric has changed. And so this is sort of a little thing that I think captures each of the different points, but in a business, and in our business, I can kind of explain how we do this. We record all of our meetings. We have all of our Slack available. All of that is in a place that's actually documented and available via an API. So we actually can data engineer and pipeline that data into a place that can be consumed by AI and actually used alongside our dashboards to make decisions. And so this loop is sort of supposed to represent how a company would go through connecting all their data, computing metrics, asking agents to help you clarify the way things work or why a decision was made, or can you define the best models for doing paid search marketing? Committing, right? Creating a decision framework, who is going to be owning this, what's the next accountability moment, and then capturing some of those decisions. And so really kind of, I know this is a little bit high level, but kind of the way I want to architect for anybody here that's in data or has worked with data teams, you know commonly the role of a data analyst. Data analyst is sort of a catch-all term for someone that just is sort of the first line of defense for the data team to investigate problems, ask questions, and really it's great for, I just want to know what happened today. So the AI may easily be able to take two numbers, look through the SQL, look through the DDL for a table, analyze some of that and say, okay, I noticed that users dropped week over week. But that's kind of where it stops. Like that's all it has access to, otherwise it's gonna hallucinate something. And so the next piece is sort of AI as a co-pilot, which means it actually is able to guide you through the investigative process. The AI as a co-pilot piece is actually something that great analysts do. They investigate, they talk to people, they have a great understanding of the business from both the data perspective and the business side, and they can say, okay, well, I know Shelly's on the marketing team. Let me call her and ask her if something happened 2 weeks ago. Okay, let me go look at some ancillary information related to users. So they're able to gather all this information, but what are they doing? They're actually just finding different points and then coming up with a thesis on what happened to a given metric. And so really the last piece is AI as a decision architect. And so this is really where I think the future is going, where what's being described in the industry is called like ambient agents, things that are kind of working in the background for you. You can think of it as something that's constantly scanning changes in your data warehouse, changes in your QuickBooks or your P&L, then triggering a series of steps to go investigate and then automatically pull up not only the report on what happened, but maybe even a decision on what you should do or who you should contact or the next step to take. Those are really similar to what you would expect like a great business consultant to do, like from McKinsey, or a great analyst plus a business person. But a lot of companies in the mid-market and small can't afford those type of resources. And this is really where I think AI can fill in the gaps for a lot of those folks. And so a couple of examples of the way this can work. For example, let's say there's a 30% increase in your customer acquisition costs. Well, if you use an AI copilot, maybe it can identify a meeting where that was discussed and a conclusion was reached. Maybe it could also recommend that you should cap a given marketing campaign or restart it. Let's say there's a 15% increase in churn. The agent can flag that there's a definition change in the way you did churn, right? This is very common in data where someone just says, we're gonna change churn from being active users that become inactive to paying to unpaid. That decision often doesn't get permeated through the business and nobody knows, but that's locked into a document or a meeting note. And this is a great way for AI to actually assist you. An investigation like that can take weeks to get to the bottom of, and by that point, everybody's commonly moved on if your business is moving fast. So these are just a couple of examples of the way we see currently AI helping out, and where I think we're going to see AI help when it identifies these issues in your business and proactively gives you some of the answers. And so couple things I want to leave everyone here with, sort of like what, if I was to start this over again, and in my business, even when I look at the data about how many clients we have, how much time we're spending creating new linear tickets, how many PRs are getting pushed, right? And I want to ask questions like, are our engineers productive? Are we able to, at what point do I need to hire my next project manager? These are all questions that even today, I'm asking the business, right? But those are all data-driven decisions I want to make. I don't want to just have a hunch that maybe we're low on resources and I need to hire somebody. There needs to be some metrics associated. So for us, the way we're trying to attack this and the way we recommend is that you pick one decision that you want to make. You capture all the context related to it, whether it's meeting notes, whether it's things you've searched on the internet regarding how to make the best decision. You then try to build an agent that helps you ask why. And you give it all of that context, and then you use it to actually help you make the decision. I guarantee if you try this for just one decision in your company, you'll see the power of what missing context really does in a business. And I think it's a huge tax for many companies. And so, let's say you implement that 30-day plan and you start to build some of these solutions. Here are some key outcomes that I would encourage you to measure. You want to measure your time to decision, right? You want to know that for a lot of your decisions, from investigation to recommendation to action, that time is now reduced. You want to see evidence, right? You want to see answers come from your AI that have citations to meeting notes, that have citations to literature or common practice, to code, right? So that's the evidence that you want to look for. Adoption. So you want to look that your team is actually using AI to make the next decision, and they're moving on from relying on their memory or just relying on a hunch. And then the last piece, which I think can be kind of counterintuitive, is to pick one metric. In many business literature, they talk about just picking 3 metrics to run your business. But to be honest, in many business, that can come down to 1 at a time. If you're in a growth phase, you just may want to grow revenue at all costs. If you're looking to clamp down on costs and run a cash flow business, profit may be your number 1 metric. Let's say you're going through a tough phase with your business and a lot of your employees are getting worried. Employee attrition may be your main metric, but pick one. That way, the debate that will happen is, well, I don't know the definition, who owns this? You want to avoid that. And so picking one metric to actually use this exercise on is really important. And so maybe just a little bit of a plug for us this is kind of the work that we're doing for a lot of our clients. As I mentioned, we started off as a data analytics company, but what does a great data team do? They ingest data from a variety of sources, they model it, they make it ready for reporting and analysis. A lot of that to me sounds like what's being labeled now as context engineering or knowledge engineering, or and basically what we're trying to do is now typically our output would be an analysis or a dashboard. But for me, as a business where I go to serve outcomes for our clients, I felt that a lot of our clients, that wasn't the best medium to end at. They actually would always ask us for what is the decision I need to make. Because by the time we get there, we're probably the only people in their business that are knowledgeable about the whole piece. But I would say a little bit dissimilar to how most data teams work is we document everything. Like, we have meetings recorded, we have great documents on decisions, business questions. And what we found recently is our ability to answer questions and answer those questions fast is extremely enabled by the fact that we've written all that down and it's available as context for AI. It can start off as simply just pasting that stuff into ChatGPT and asking a question. But for anyone here that's worked with AI or AI agents, that can quickly evolve to something more dynamic. So this is the kind of work that we're doing. A lot of what I described today is really future-facing, but this is the kind of where I feel like our business is going to start to merge data and AI longer term. And a little bit of a plug, we are, as the team mentioned, we're working with a company called Superposition. David Cohen, who's actually giving a simultaneous talk in Houston, we've partnered together to build a free AI and data workshop. If anyone works in consulting or has been to one of these workshops, they can often be just like corporate mumbo jumbo that you show up to and you put sticky notes on a whiteboard and you leave kind of feeling really happy. This is quite the opposite. I've been to a lot of those types of workshops, and I was really reluctant to release a workshop product or service without it being really, really effective. We've spent a lot of time developing not only a framework for the set of meetings that we run with clients, but additionally, we do a lot of pre-work. We interview basically everybody that's coming to the meeting, understand their incentives, and almost script the workshop like a play where we want to get out conflict and get out answers for folks. And so for the rest of the year, we're going to be running a free hour-long workshop for teams. I know there's some ex-consultants here. That's a very great offer. These are commonly very, very expensive things to run. But what we found is that a lot of our clients will leave with easily 3 to 5 super important proof of concepts that they can work on with their team or consider working on with us. But also it'll bring the right people in the room, break down a lot of politics, and get you to how you can actually enable AI in your business versus having an AI council that meets every week and kind of doesn't get anywhere. And yeah, that's my presentation. Happy to take any questions. Or if anyone has any thoughts or reflections. Yes, please.
Is it all textual data then captured?
Yeah, so the question was, is it all textual data? So it's quite multimodal. So this can be unstructured text data. This can be structured like stuff from a database like Snowflake. This could also end up being image data, right? If you're in a company where images of products or manufacturing plants are important, that may be relevant to the pipeline. The one thing about AI is now there's a lot of multimodal systems where you can sort of shove a lot of different mediums of data into the pipeline. But commonly for our businesses, we work with both structured and unstructured data. That could be text or that could be typically SQL data tables. So in terms of data warehouses, we typically implement Snowflake, although there's a lot of great alternatives like Supabase, like ClickHouse, like MotherDuck. Those are all really great. And then to build a lot of our AI agents, and this is something that I was actually not a huge fan of to start, but I've actually grown to love it, is we use N8N for quite a bit of our agent building for a couple of reasons. One, my goal is to not have agent building be gate kept to just engineers. So having a low code or a no code system allows our motivated project managers or clients to actually go build agents themselves. Second, I just found it really hard to find developers that knew how to build AI agents that didn't work in any of like N8N, Make, Zapier. Because these are all folks that sort of have just started their career recently or completely transitioned to AI in the last few years. You can build some of these stuff in Python, but that's not the common paradigm right now. So for building AI, we use some of these low-code or no-code tools, and then sometimes we call external webhooks or call external APIs.
Are you using like open source ones?
For the most part, we're using OpenAI. We're part of the Azure for Startups program, so they gave us a bunch of free credits, so I'm just gonna use those. If you're a startup, you can apply. They'll give you like 25 grand in credits. It's worth it. But you can self-host or run, any of the common models. I feel like they're all comparable at this point.
How do you handle like conflicting audiences?
So yeah, how do you handle conflicting audiences? Do you mean in the clients?
No, context.
Oh, context. So we do a lot of chunking and we build RAG systems. So we don't shove everything into context and sort of just get whatever answer out. We chunk different parts, whether it's text. Like for example, if you think Slack messages, it's a really interesting challenge because you have threads and threads of messages where inside there may be sub-messages. So you can't just throw a day's worth of messages into an AI. The context window will be way too large. So you have to do some type of chunking and some type of semantic recall to grab that data. Yeah. Any other? Yeah, please.
You mentioned that you see the roadmap as AI going from decision making, from analysts to architects, right? So in architect, you mentioned that you'll be able to perform like decision making with the help of AI. But how reliable do you think is currently making decisions with AI because they have to make a lot, right? And you can't rely on that.
Yeah, this is why throughout the whole process, I never mentioned that the AI is sort of left alone. Because I think there's a lot of people hypothesizing about AI sort of running different parts of a business, but I live today in 2025 with clients that need this today. So for all of the stuff we build, there's a common human in the loop process where it's always AI providing resources or information to a human to then make a final decision. But the fidelity of that information and the vastness and the precision, that's what we work on. But ultimately, it's a human at the end of it making decision. And even in my business, I work in client service, and you can't have an AI do what I do. And people want to buy from people still today. So we don't see like a complete replacement of people. I just find that right now, the decision-making fidelity is so bad that even just getting 20 to 50% more accurate would be a huge step change for a lot of companies.
But do you think that creates a bias when there's one and they just provide you something?
Yeah, I think humans are going to be the limiting factor. Like, I think you're totally right. But also, that's the ingenuity. That's people making, like we talk about gut instincts or relationships. There are still things that the AI agents can't do today, and that's actually what we want us all to be able to do more of, is build a relationship, is make an instinctual call, versus sitting and digging through data or questioning whether things are accurate. And I think it's flipped these days. Like, I don't think there's enough of that, so there's still a lot of room to grow. Yeah, please.
I really like the deployment framework. Makes a lot of sense. With one, that's the right way, I guess, kind of a direction or best practice of what to do. What have you run into in terms of like horror stories or cautionary tales, maybe of like your clients where they move too fast or they chose something, or do you have any tips of what to avoid?
Yeah. So one, I can talk about a couple of client experiences. One, we just have clients who've never used ChatGPT who come to us and ask us to build AI systems. Those are clients that I typically turn around and I say, you need to go try this out first, because whatever you want us to build, you'll have no framework for asking for it in the right way. So all of our clients, we require some minimum understanding of using at least ChatGPT or using some LLM in their personal or professional life. But commonly, again, as I mentioned in the last question, the humans are typically the barrier of adoption. The number one problem we have when we go to clients, and even in my company, is adoption of tools. It's not the technology. I think some of the stuff that I described today, the technology has been available for over a year now. And if someone like me is doing it with no funding and very little time, then it's totally possible. But what's not possible, or what's very difficult, is getting people to not be afraid that AI is taking their job, to not be gatekeeping because they want to save their job and there's politics involved in companies. There's also the need of a CEO at a large firm may not have the time that I have to research the latest AI and even have the ideas that, hey, I want to go. For a good example, in the sales process, commonly once you talk to a prospect, you have to create SOWs, you have to create project plans. A lot of that work can be done with AI, and we are currently doing a lot of that given a transcript and given a great prompt. But the problem there is actually a lot of salespeople aren't trained to use a tool. They look at it as a replacement for them. And so I would say most of the horror stories are actually not about AI running amok or sort of data challenges. And again, that just may be the type of clients that we work with. Most of the problems we have is on adoption, where even though the tools exist, there's training videos, their first instinct is not to ask AI, is to just do the normal thing. And so the way we circumvent that or try to is we try to get buy-in from the top. So we really go to the top, and as part of all of our deployments, we produce dashboards because we're a data company first. So we measure evals, we measure agent performance, response times. We also produce a leaderboard, the people that are using it the most and the people that are using it the least, and provide that to the executives to try to build a way for their teams to actually adopt this. That's usually the toughest problem for us, yeah. Yeah, please.
Have you tried any type of incentives to like push people to adopt these earlier? Like that, I was thinking, now that you mentioned that leadership, it could be like, I don't know, you can achieve your goal faster than traditional
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, again, even in my business, and I run an AI consultancy, not everybody uses AI. It'd be very surprising to you. And yeah, I think they will start to think about some incentive, like to kind of tell you where we are as a business. When I interview folks, one of our core questions is, how did you use AI in your job recently? And that is a filtering question. That's very important to us. But also, I know for some people, their response is, well, our company doesn't allow AI. But my rebuttal is, okay, I've used it personally, right? So you want people that are very curious. But also, even in my business, you have people that just want to come in, do a great job, and head home. So how do you get that person to really see this? One, I think it takes a lot of training, and it takes seeing use cases across the business in almost like a group fashion. But I do think over time, companies will start to measure how many of their engineers are using Cursor, how many tokens are getting used per person, what is the different usage of the tools. It'll start to become a clear indicator of productivity, and I think people are going to get forced to use it. I think one thing that can't be overstated enough is, in business for a lot of companies, there's no path towards getting 20 to 40% more efficient like there is by using AI. Most companies are trying to just grow 5 or 10% a year, or trying to cut costs by 5 or 10%. But when something like AI comes along and very quickly can achieve that, they're going to make it a reality. And so that's I think what's starting to happen and is going to continue to happen, where they're going to really push adoption from the top. And I think if you're in an employee company, you should see that as leverage, right? You can use the AI tools to actually become 2, 3, 4, 5 times more effective than your peers. Additionally, I think many companies will start to also screen for that, and you'll just have a leg up. But I think they'll start to do some incentives or negative incentives, right? Something will happen. Yeah. Yeah, please.
How are you thinking about pricing or charging? Are you doing it as a per project? Are you?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and also how are you? I guess how are you doing the math as their adoption and compute costs grow?
Yeah, this is a great question. The question is, how are we pricing? So for anybody familiar with consulting, it's a billable hour game. You try to charge as much per hour, and you try to fulfill that and sometimes as little as you can, but you typically try to make some margin. But what's happening now, because AI is so powerful, companies like mine, because we get things done really fast, get dinged for getting things done very fast, meaning what would have taken 20 hours now takes 3 hours, and I now lose 17 hours of billable time. And that's a big challenge. And so we have a variety of things we're trying, and we have a variety of clients. So a couple things that are more easy for us to do. Again, as I mentioned, we have a lot of mid-market companies. For them, we, try to project plan as much as possible and gear towards outcomes. So either a set of deliverables, a couple of workflows that we're building with clear deadlines and milestones, by which we can then charge almost like a monthly fee, where we're going to work on these 3 workflows, and we're going to charge you 10, 20 grand a month. And roughly, I do the math on how long it's going to take to fulfill. And the benefit for the client actually is that we can ramp up and ramp down without having a change order. But also for me, it's that I know that if I get something done really fast, I actually just make the margin. But I would say this is going to be a challenge when we start to get to enterprise, because the enterprise procurement for professional services is on an hourly basis. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think some enterprises will continue to just try to charge hourly, and I think some consultants will probably do the work in 20 and probably bill 40. That happens a lot. I also think that companies like mine perhaps will come in and offer a more reliable outcome. It may take a lot of planning up front, and it may take more risk on my side, but for me, it's more honest, and it's still a win-win. If the company still gets the outcome they're looking for, then it's up to me to fulfill it, at the best way I can. I think the problem for a lot of big enterprises, big four consulting, it's very risky. They bear, if a client goes over an hours, you're going to bear that expense. The other thing is consulting has always been run like this since its inception. And so it's going to be very hard for them to switch to a model like this that's built on outcomes. I think they're very negatively incentivized at those companies to do that because the money is tough. It's just tougher. So I think there's a conflict that will happen. I don't think I'm the only one with this idea. It's like outcomes-based pricing, but I think it's more fair, and I think it's more honest, and that's how we try to work anyway. So that's what we'll try. Yeah, please.
As your company does more and more engagements, you guys are probably doing some of the same work over and over again, or building the same modules over and over again, like integration with Slack. Have you guys can head towards more of like a SaaS product? Because I'm sure there's a lot of commonality in doing these projects, right? You can kind of building more product, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my background is in venture-backed product companies for the most part. So I would say it's hard to run two types of companies at the same time. So a lot of our team and our clients commonly ask us, as of now, we are a services business. I think sometimes people see the repeatable process in your mind tends to drive towards, oh my gosh, we have to make a SaaS product. But you commonly forget that you need help desk, you need authentication, you need like some sort of marketing to acquire users. It's a different business. And right now I can only mentally afford to run one type of business. And so we run a services company. But that doesn't mean we don't take advantage as much as possible of a repeated process. So internally, I think of it as like the BrainForge platform, but we're a platform in that we have repeated tooling, but we also have SOPs, we have reusable epics, we have common patterns that we see. So we try to make sure that not only do we benefit in that the next engagement we can do faster and better, but the client benefits for those same reasons. But things are moving so fast, and the product space for AI is incredibly competitive with a lot more money than I have. It's not worth it. In fact, I'm more interested in just using whatever they develop and bringing it to clients, because that's where they're going to struggle. Most of the SaaS companies in AI are focused on selling to the Fortune 500. There's only 500 of them. And they're all focused on that because they have high valuations and they need to hit those. So one is there's a really big chasm in SMB and mid-market. Second, there's not a lot of professional services that have done this reliably. And so both of those scream to me that there's going to be demand for help to dig those holes. And for me, the way I tell my team is like, we dig holes, and every month I go find the best shovels. And for our customers, the price of shovels is dropping every month. Better shovels for cheaper. For me, I just benefit because I want my team to implement the best thing. And I think it's really a great time to be in AI consulting, where you don't have to manage the risk of being in a highly competitive product market, but you can still do a lot of great work for clients that may not be served for another few years. Yeah, please.
Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
It seems super relevant. I'm curious, do you identified any particular, maybe one or two niches that you're super excited about? And I'm curious, what are the problems you're solving for those types of companies?
Yeah, so when we started the company, I was sort of taking whatever money we could do to do whatever type of work. But now, as we've been learning more about positioning in our business, we've started to narrow our scope in a couple of ways. One, we typically don't work with many startups. That's my whole background, but startups are kind of rough customers. They demand a lot, and they don't pay on time, and they often fail. So now, if you look at our client list, the startups we're working for are typically friends of mine, and they all still have the same symptoms. So we tend to work with companies that are in the $20 to $100 million range in revenue, companies that have achieved product market fit, that are looking to grow, right? So we don't go to companies that are looking to scale back, that are looking to fire everybody. Those are not engagements that we take. We want to go to companies that want to grow fast. They want to manage profitability. They want to grow revenue, and they want to do it with data at the forefront. So I would say the other thing is we just haven't honed in on a specific industry. In consulting, they talk about positioning where you should end up with only 50 to 100 companies that fit your ICP. We're definitely not there yet, but the companies that I love to work with are the companies you may have never heard of. Large private businesses, family-run businesses that have a lot of data, maybe just recently got to the cloud, right? And those are still exist. I think if you consume a lot of startup media and things, you may not realize that there's a lot of those businesses in the country that are making a lot of money that you would go and see their operations, and it'd be really tough to see the way they're doing things without data, and imagine what AI could do. So those are the companies we like to work with. Again, these could be in industries like insurance, other service businesses, legal, but we also work with a fair bit of B2B SaaS and e-commerce. I think we will make some more decisions on industries over time. But what we find is that there's a lot of parallels across a lot of industries. And so my job is to make sure that when I get a client, we make them feel very special, like we're here to solve their problem. But for the most part, their problem is something that a lot of different companies are facing. And so we try to bring those patterns to them, but still solve the one problem they're dealing with, which for me, I want to work in the spaces where there's a lot of low competition, which tends to be these large private businesses, that may not be tech-enabled.
Are you doing, just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
personal curiosity, are you implementing any AI agents yourself for your go-to-market to reach out to these companies, secure more clients? And I'm sure you must have some sort of internal machine or something. I'm so curious.
Yeah, so that's actually why we got into the AI business, is because I was developing AI for ourselves first. I was doing a lot of AI stuff for our company when we were just a few people, and then I hired an AI engineer off of Discord to just work with me on building Brainforge and to be more of an AI native consultancy. And so you're exactly right. We have shoved AI into every nook and cranny in the business as possible. And I think it's, one, because you have someone like me who I'm at the top and I can kind of make sure that it happens. But also commonly I find that the requests our customers are asking us for on the AI side are not as challenging as the stuff that I'm asking our team to build. So that's been me just trying to be an engineer, and I don't think it's common for a company our size in consulting to have sort of an internal sort of platform engine, but that's what keeps me motivated in the business. So I'm the project manager for our internal AI team. And so we build agents and workflows for our project management team, our sales team, operations, finance, whether it's drafting a sales email so that we can reduce the time between touch points from 4 days to 2 days, whether it's helping our project managers develop very sophisticated project plans that are multi-agent systems that take in transcripts, Slacks, and build something like that. That's something that would take them hours to do that we can do in maybe 30 minutes. An additional thing that we built that I love because I was a product manager for a while is we built an AI agent that helps you go from a transcript to linear tickets. So you can throw in several transcripts and you get the option to create several tickets, quickly edit them. That's something in project management that typically takes hours and hours to do. So yeah, we're the ultimate guinea pig for the work, and it's helped us in a lot of ways because I can qualify my assumptions about what it's like to adopt AI in a business. But also when I go to clients, it's I have a lot of empathy for them because I talk to them about the challenges that we've had and what's actually been working for us versus what they just saw on LinkedIn or something that's gone viral. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Do you do anything with cybersecurity? Do you go in and look at the system and say, AI would increase your cybersecurity? Do you do what kind of projects?
Yeah, so on the data side, we do a lot of data governance work where we're monitoring, access control. We do role-based access control on all of our data work that we do. We haven't had a particular client come to us with that need, but a couple of ways I think AI could be really effective that I'm sure a lot of the companies that are in cybersecurity are doing, which is using AI to ingest audit logs and find anomalies, looking at different access control requests and approving or denying them or escalating them. I think there's certainly a lot of opportunity. We have not been fortunate enough to do one of those projects. I would love to do one if you have one, but yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity there. Yes.
Any particular industry that's more open to doing this type of thing?
Yeah, so we the one tough part about working with companies that aren't super tech enabled is they're probably not tech enabled for a reason. Like there is some pushback. So in legal, for example, they often don't have budgets for big IT. And you would be surprised to see how many law firms work where they're just reading PDFs on their email and making decisions on the fly, and there's no CRM, there's no advanced analysis on caseload and anything like that. But commonly, because most of their margin goes to people and then servicing clients, and that's it, they don't have an IT budget. So sometimes we go to industries where they're impaired just because they haven't adopted tools or their budgets are so low. But then you also have companies in insurance, in health tech, that are ready to invest, and that an extra few points of margin means a lot to them when scale really matters. So it is case by case. In legal, for example, too, it's very fragmented. Like there are some really big law firms, like some of the signs you see on the highway, but there are also tons of very small firms. So it's tough to go do serious consulting work when their budget is very low. But in insurance, in some of these businesses where there's a lot of consolidation, but they still don't have the talent that a Facebook or an Amazon would get in terms of software engineers, they are relying on a lot of consulting to get big IT projects done. And so it's a perfect fit for us.
And do you find yourself, one of the advantages maybe you bring to customers is staying current on the Gen AI rather than,
Yeah. Yeah, the question is like, do we find an advantage of staying current? I mean, it's my job to stay current, and it's very tough. I think I've learned most of what I know in AI just off Twitter, and that's like a blessing and a curse. One, you have to wade through a lot of information, and I feel also lucky that I had a business where I could try things. I think that combination of just being, interested in the subject and also having a playground to implement gave us this advantage. A lot of businesses, there's no time for the CEO to go spend time exploring how to leverage AI. They're going to rely on either internal folks that get excited and want to evangelize, or has to come externally. And I think some of those companies, they will get the solutions they need via a SaaS vendor, but it may take another 3 to 5 years. Like I think if your goal is to get ahead of the curve now, I think you have to make these investments. Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thanks a lot to Utam, and for sure we still have some time to network, so feel free to continue talking to each other, grab a drink, and connect with Utam. Thank you. And picture, please. So everyone get together for a picture.
Up here or over there?
No, like facing, well, yeah, facing this way. Yeah, and I'll, yeah. Facing this way, sorry, facing this way. Yeah. A little. And Utam, you at the front, please. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, 1, 2. 1, 2, tequila. Tequila. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, too.
If you need parking validation tickets, you can come to me.
Did you drive, for instance, in like